Right, Luke.
Morning, Magnus.
Back in the trail.
We are. Another year.
It's been almost exactly a year since we stood on top of the Bunyas.
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah, very close. Very, very close to it.
I was hoping we'd be halfway, but not quite.
No, we've had some hard going there in those times, though. There's been some walking done.
It's been some walking. Ivory Creek, we finally made it. Behind us is the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail, where we stopped last time. And Brisbane River is about 400 meters to my left here. So we got the boats. We're going to be pushing them down the river, down the creek to the river.
Yep.
And then we'll take off from there.
And then downstream.
Downstream.
And hopefully we've got good flows all the way and it's a nice cruisy day down the river.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, we're not going to meet many people on the trail, mainly because of the virus, which is still going around. So we'll just go on the river. We have Garry with us. We'll talk to Garry a bit later. But other than that, it's just us today. We'll stay away from the locals and do the right thing.
Yep. Should be a nice day on the water.
Should be lovely. Let's go.
Let's get it done.
Not quite as draggable and gravel as
looks like a little sawshell turtle. So I just grabbed him, he was just swimming in the shallows. So in around the background here you might see there's a lot of sandy area. So like the sea turtles, these guys come up and lay their eggs in a bit of sandy bank and they hatch out. So that guy's only a little tiny one. And there's plenty of them through here, but he'll live his whole life through here and hopefully keep reproducing on his own.
So Garry, what have we got behind us here? It's obviously a man-made structure.
Yeah, well what they've done is put all these pylons in,
Yep.
or like big old strainer posts.
Yep.
You put a stack of them in and then every time there's a flow, logs get caught against them and then smaller sticks and then finally it'll build up the riverbank. So kind of undo some of the damage that we've done to this river over the years, build it up and let the native trees sort of get hold of the bank again. You'll see there's a whole line of them going up perpendicular to the river and then they're shoring up the bank along here. So hopefully it'll fill in behind that and we get the deep drop-offs back into the river again. Kind of narrow it up where it's been wider and shallower for a long time.
Yeah, okay, so just developing that natural process.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
speeding it up a little bit.
Yeah, giving nature a hand. So good to see the attitudes changing around land management and management of our waterways as well.
And that's a common thread we've actually seen all the way down from the Bunya Mountains. People restoring, the creek banks and the feeders and the tributaries, and just a change in culture and attitude.
Yeah, there's so much going on, so all these different community groups and government agencies, they're all doing their own little bit. I'm involved with putting fish back in, but without the vegetation, the fish aren't going to do any good. So big thumbs up from me.
Yeah. Magnus, was that a bit deeper than you expected?
No, I knew.
Like literally, it starts to push you sideways.
It's just not enough.
Downstream was for a bluestone quarry. The satellite shed they've got up there.
It's like in a star sort of. How tall do they get though?
Oh, 45 metres.
So they're proper canopy trees.
Oh yeah. This might be a bit.
Yeah, I've got some footage, so keep that footage.
So, Gary, you were saying about 2011 floods and the devastation through here. Take us through that.
Yeah, so this was a moonscape. All these clissamens you can see here.
Yeah.
There was nothing. There was not a blade of grass. There was no weed in the water. It was stripped bare to like 20 metres up. They go on. A lot of people in the city, they were worried about the river in the city rising 2 metres. It was up 20, 30 metres up here, and there was not a blade of grass for months and months. But what that flood also did, as the flood dissipated, it's left all these clissamen seeds here, and these are here after 2011, and you can see here some of them are 3-4 metres high.
Yeah.
So that in that decade or so since the flood, they've now re-established themselves here, and this was just grass before that. So it's not all negatives out of the floods. There's some positives that come out of it as well. Change in the course of the river. Obviously, it always changes course with any sort of a flow. But this regeneration all on its own. This hasn't had any help. It's all done it by itself. And these clissamens, we get the smaller flows, which we've had recently. You see the smaller flows of then there's like grasses and stuff have come down and swept up against them, so they'll form a mulch, and that hopefully they'll start raising the bank as these trees act as a natural bit of a filter.
Yeah.
And it'll build it up. So after these calissamens are here, then hopefully we'll start getting some of the eucalypts and the bigger trees they might seed in behind it. And then we get a bigger canopy over the waterway.
And then structure to the waterway then too as well.
Yeah, like you and I were looking at some massive old logs back up there that were laying in the edge of the water.
Yeah.
great for, you know, that's cod habitat. That's for cod nesting. Great for ambush predators like bass. They'll live in under there and race out and grab a fish. But so those trees are hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
So, you know, we look at, I can see a little gum tree over there. It's maybe 5 metres high. You know, that's an investment. That tree's got to take 100, 200 years. And we're talking about the cod nesting. They'll nest in old hollow logs that are in the water. Well, a gum tree doesn't start to form hollows for 70, 80 years. And then to get a decent sized hollow, it's got to be a couple of 100-year-old tree. So we've got to get some trees go through that whole cycle until they die or a flood and they fall in. And they add something. When they fall in the river, they add something to the river.
Yeah.
That's a bit cheeky, isn't it? Every time they get a good flood, it must be out there putting this back up again.
There's your concrete contingent.
So we're sitting by a beautiful waterhole,
Yeah.
and this looks like a permanent waterhole as well.
Yeah, it is. Actually came through here in a pretty bad drought in about 2019.
Yeah.
We came through looking for the permanent waterholes, and there was some good water through here.
Yeah. So we've had a bit of rain, but being a permanent waterhole, there's a good chance that there'll be something in here called the Bumga, and you have a lot to do with that. So tell us about the Bumga.
Yeah, well, that was Bumga's a local indigenous language, meaning that was from the Jinnabara people, and it meant basically translated as blue cod, or that was the Brisbane River cod. So they're basically, well, they've been extinct since about 1938, 1940, somewhere through there, for a wide variety of reasons, like mining, they're poisoned in the rivers, clearing of the waterways, overfishing, just kind of death by 1,000 cuts. And then there was a massive fire in around 1938. All the ash flowed into the river, and that was the end of them. So,
And they used to be, it's quite a big species, isn't it? The freshwater cod.
So slow growing, long lived. They'll live 80, 100 years, and they'll grow, you know, well over a metre long. They were the apex predator of these waterways, and they kind of keep the whole balance of all the fish species in check. And without that apex predator in there, everything gets all out of whack, you know. And over the last few years, we've had tilapia introduced, we've had pearl cichlids introduced, there's European carp, and if we had good, healthy populations of our apex cod species in here, well, they wouldn't have got a real good hold. So what we're trying to do is, there are no Brisbane River cod left, but very closely related cousin is the Mary River cod. So as part of, or under the umbrella of the Mary River Cod Recovery Program, we've started the Brisbane River Cod Recovery Program. So we're using Mary River cod and we're replacing them. So we're going through and we've identified like hundreds and hundreds of kilometres of creeks and rivers looking for those permanent water holes. And we're releasing fingerlings, and hopefully, fingers crossed, in several years' time, we may get some grow through to adult size, and hopefully then we get boy meet girl and the rest takes care of itself.
And how long before they're breeding maturity?
Minimum, look, there's plenty of food in here for them to eat. Minimum 4 to 5 years. Realistically, maybe 8 or 10.
Yeah.
And in that time, we'll have floods, we'll have drought, we'll have all sorts of situations going on. But they're a pretty tough species. But in saying that, they're not real good breeders on their own as well. So they're slow to reproduce. But as long as we can get them fish through up to that adult size, 45, 50 centimetres, where they might start being able to reproduce, then we're a chance. And a bit like humans, a 5-year-old 50 centimetre cod's like a 16-year-old human. We're not real good parents. So it takes a few years.
Fair enough.
To get good at it, a little bit of experience. We're all better on our second kid than our first, So these cod are the same. So it's the males actually that do all the parental work. The female lays the eggs, they're adhesive.
They're quite territorial, aren't they? They stay to a big log or a submerged tree, and that's the breeding ground, and they stay adjacent to that.
So the female will lay the eggs and they're adhesive and they're sticky, so a hard surface. So we need rock or we need woody to breed, so that's large gum trees. And she'll lay the eggs and the male will fertilise them. Then she's off. She's gone, I'm out. And the male, he'll sit and guard them and the eggs, and anything comes near them, he'll crunch them. And that means, they've been known to come out and bite people on the leg or the arm.
Swimmers.
Yeah. Obviously they don't kill anyone, but they've got like a crusher plate. It's like very coarse sandpaper around the edge of their mouth. So they'll give you a good, what they call cod rash.
Cod rash.
Yeah. So fishermen talk about that because when they catch them, they stick their thumb in their mouth and hang on to them. They get a big, you end up bleeding. But they'll come out and defend them, and then babies will hatch, and then he'll guard them for the first little bit until they make their own way off, and then it's fingers crossed we get some of those survive. So they might get 200,000 to 300,000 eggs at a time. A good female might lay that many, and we probably run at less than a 1% survival rate in the wild.
Yeah. And when you say we, you put these cod out, who are we? What's the organisation you're with?
Oh, right. So the program for the Brisbane River Cod Recovery Project, that's the Somerset and Wivenhoe Fish Stocking Association. So the core business for the last 32 years for that community group has been putting all the fish in Lake Somerset and Wivenhoe, where, they'll release maybe 500,000 fingerlings a year into those two lakes to improve recreational fishing. Well, what they found is that actually improves the water quality. So if you can imagine, we put fingerlings in when they're that big, 35, 45 mil, and over the course of 2, 3, 5, 8 years, that fish grows into that big. They've taken, and someone catches it, takes it home. That's pulling nutrients out of that waterway. So if you go back to the 70s and 80s, and you'd see on the news all the time, the massive blue-green algae blooms in a lot of these lakes. Doesn't happen much these days.
You're taking the nitrogen out when you take the fish.
Yeah, so that's part of working with improving the water quality, and we're putting the balance back in the waterway as well. So we're on the beautiful upper Brisbane River. Before, in about 1983, there was no Wivenhoe Dam. So taking a really good river and putting 16 million tonnes of rock and concrete across that does is breaks all these fish's breeding cycle. So in here, there's Australian bass, and the only reason they're here is because we stock them further down in Wivenhoe Dam, and some of them run upstream. But the bass need to go to salt water to breed. So that breeding cycle's done.
Yeah.
So without continued restocking, the bass population are gone. So, there's benefits there to that restocking as well. And if we can put fish in a lake where it's easy for people to get at, or maybe they don't need to try and get into remote locations that we've paddled through today, risking themselves to try and catch a fish. We'll make them easy to catch, and that leaves these wild, these wild locations, gives that a bit of takes some pressure off them as well.
But if you catch a Mary River cod, then that's still a protected species here, isn't it?
Yes.
So even if you catch one that's been transplanted in,
yes,
you have to let it back in the river again.
Yeah. And look, they're a beautiful fish. They really are magnificent, and we understand that people might want to take a photo, but get them back in the water as long as you can.
So I'm sure I've seen photos from early century, from Mary River particularly, with specimens caught that were absolutely massive, like 1.5 meters long.
Yeah.
And how old would the fish that size be?
Oh, over 100 years old.
Yeah.
So they live longer than humans.
So to establish a full population again, a full mature population, it's going to be a century worth of restocking and looking after the waterway.
Yep, yes, for sure. And but we've got to start somewhere. So this is the start, and I'm sure that in my day I'm not going to see the full benefits of it, but hopefully other people will pick the baton up and run with that, and continue this work. It's not going to be a one-off event where we let fish go. We're going to need to continue to put more fingerlings in for many, many years to come. Nature's slowly doing its own thing, but it's getting helped along the way. So, attitudes around the way our lands are used and managed are changing, and that's really encouraging, So there's a lot of different people doing their own little thing, and we do our bit with the fish, and everyone just works in together to, we're going to hopefully make a brighter future for our waterways.
So how do you like the paddling, Luke?
It's a nice change from the walking, isn't it? And we've got flow today, so it's even easier. It's almost just steer the boats.
And what a beautiful spot, eh?
Oh, that is absolutely gorgeous.
This is a rarely paddled section of the river. You wish to bring your fishing rod?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I was expecting it to be a little bit dirtier than what it is with all the rain we've had. That's why I sort of didn't bring it, but next run.
It's quite clean. I reckon visibility is probably, it's got 1.5 meters maybe.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a lot dirtier because of the runoff. But,
and Ivory Creek was quite clear, actually.
Oh, it was spectacular.
Yeah, very nice. Which way, Gary? That way or that way? Left? All right, Gary says left.
Left it is.
This is one of my favourite trees here. These ones, this is a Moreton Bay chestnut or black bean tree, and they're actually like a legume. They're the biggest member of the bean family. Like the beans that you eat for dinner, you grow in the backyard. Well, these things grow to like 30 metres plus. These are like a rainforest or river tree, and they're you can easily identify them by these. These are a little bit small, these seed pods, but they commonly get these larger seed pods, a bit longer than this. And there'll be 4 or 5 seeds in there. And quite often you'll see them on the ground, and they'll turn black. And inside they'll crack, and there'll be 4 or 5 large seeds in there. And they'll just grow from seed really easily. And you can just pop them on the ground, move them around. So if I take that home, I'll dry it out, and wait till it dries out, I'll open it up and then just bang it in the ground. These pull nitrogen, like all the legumes, pull nitrogen out of there and put it in the soil. So these guys, these black beans, will actually help feed the other trees around it. So, and they get really strong root systems, so they're resistant to getting pushed over in those really big floods like we had in 2011 and 2013. So for me, for a habitat along our waterways, the black bean tree's a winner.
The sun is intense on the water, it really is. Even though it's an overcast day, I think it's time to wet the hat, eh? Ah, never gets old.
Going into Karreman Road Oh yeah, down the loop from
Oh, you can float through, Magnus. You could have floated through. Jeez, that's got flow.
How are you going with your sailboat, Luke? Are you getting one?
I haven't yet. I'm keeping an eye out. Yeah.